The Sony A7 III is still a great camera for video. Let me tell you why. According to the specs, it's equipped with a 24 megapixel CMOS back illuminated sensor. It shoots in 4K 24p and 4K 30p, which is downsampled from a 6K sensor. What that means is the A7 III is capable of capturing a 6K image. That image is then downsampled to 4K and you still get this 6K quality and detail compressed into a smaller file size. It shoots up to 120 frames per second at 1080p, which is great files for when using them for social media like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, etc. I mean, they're even great for paid work. If people were using these files nearly 4 years ago when this camera first came out, they're definitely still usable today. Newer cameras that are coming out today still use these same features or similar features. Let's talk about how it feels in the hand, stabilization, and weight. The A7 III sensor is stabilized, which means the sensor shifts to help compensate for some of the micro shakes that happens when you are using the camera handheld. It also has some weight to it, and with the lens attached, it can get pretty hefty, which is great for when using the camera handheld. The weight would help compensate for some of the micro shakes in addition to what the sensor is already doing, which means you can get a pretty stable image without using a gimbal, Steadicam, or tripod. It sports a DSLR body design, comes with a viewfinder and tilting screen, and a fairly decent amount of custom buttons, and buttons that are pre-programmed that can be customized to almost whatever you want them to be. I think the grip is nice, the button layout is okay. In fewer words, it fits well in the hand, big or small, and when held properly, you can get the results you're looking to get, maybe even better. If it is too small for your hands, then you can always get the battery grip, a cage, side handle, top handle for better handling, especially when adding a battery grip and then a cage. You'd look like you know what you're doing when you walk into your next paid gig. Adding these accessories or rigging out your camera will also add more weight. With more weight comes better stability. Let's talk about accessories that enhance the A7 III experience and some of the assist features. When creating videos, the camera is only part of the process. You have to work in lighting, audio, set design if you're into that, and composition, and a few other things. Yes, quality of the image does matter sometimes. All social platforms does some form of compression, so high quality files are always great in that case, but 90% of the time you can get away with 1080p. And there are some features the A7 III has which will assist you in getting a high quality image. As high quality of an image this camera can produce, which can be increased when using an external recorder like the Atomos Ninja 5 or other external recorders. However, the A7 III can only produce a 8-bit image, and when shooting with an external recorder, you can get up to 8-bit 422, not 10-bit 422 or even a 10-bit file. What that means is that you have a little more room when color grading. Not much, so don't go crazy with the saturation sliders. Additional accessories aside, the camera comes with a histogram and focus peaking, which are great assist features to get you started with properly exposing your videos. So what is a histogram? A histogram is a graph you can turn on and off in the camera that measures the shadows, midtones, and highlights of the image or scene you're trying to capture. The far left side of the histogram chart is pure black, and the far right is pure white. The further you are to the left, the darker your image. The further you are to the right, the lighter your image. Depending on the aesthetics of the scene you are trying to capture, you can expose to the left for a more moody image, or to the right for a less moody image. There is no right or wrong way to do this. When starting out, play around with exposing to the right, to the left, and to the middle to figure out how you like to expose your scenes and images. There's a lot more that goes into exposing scenes and images, which I will be talking about in another video. So what is focus peaking? Focus peaking is a feature in the camera that helps you gauge what is in focus and what isn't. This feature solely works with manual focusing on the A7 III. If it does work in autofocus, I've not figured it out yet. If you figured it out, let us know in the comments below. Something to note, a wider aperture means narrow focus. There are a few colors you can choose for focus peaking. The color you choose as your peaking indicator indicates what is in focus, but a wider aperture like 1.4 and 1.8 has a very narrow focus plane, which means less in focus and more bokeh. Be cognizant and double check your focus with an external monitor or tablet that has a bigger, higher resolution screen, or just use a more narrow aperture like f2 and above if you want more of your image in focus. Again, this is all preference and stylistic choice, so play around with it. Why use these features? Using these features can help you with crafting and capturing a high quality image with the A7 III. Images that are just as good as what's coming out of the newer cameras today. Learning to read the histogram, practicing exposing to the left, to the middle, and to the right, using focus peaking when you are questioning whether the image is in focus will allow you to better understand how to use the Sony A7 III and create high quality content. Eventually, you'll learn how to capture scenes and images without relying heavily on these features and gain a better understanding of how to read light. Once you understand all of these key features, then you will be well on your way to mastering the A7 III and every other camera for that matter. Remember, the camera is only part of the process. The A7 III isn't lacking in any kind of way when it comes to creating great work. So why is this still a great camera for video? Although some of the internals are out of date, and even the externals when comparing the grip size, the amount of custom function buttons and custom modes on the mode dial, the screen resolution compared to some of Sony's newer cameras, here is why it is still great. We've established it has a 24 megapixel stabilized back illuminated CMOS sensor, shoots in downsample 4K. You have the option to shift down to 1080p, then you can shoot up to 120 frames per second, and you can just downshift to 1080p if you don't want to worry about the larger file sizes. It has a Super 35 crop mode when you need further reach, or you just want to use some of the affordable third-party cine lenses that are made specifically for Sony E-mount APS-C cameras. What else is there to say? And that is it for today. Stay awesome.